We're good to go.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order and ask Stacy to do roll call, please.
Councilmember Little is absent at this time, but we do anticipate his arrival shortly. Councilmember Sander is absent at this time, but we also anticipate his arrival shortly. Councilmember Pulapati? Here. Vice Mayor Budge? Here. Mayor Gatewood?
Yes. Can you go ahead and read the playback?
Yes. The meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council is recorded with closed captioning. The recording will be cablecast on Metro Cable Channel 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast and DirecTV Uverse cable systems. The recording will also be video streamed at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting will replay on Thursday, March 5th at 9 a.m. and Friday, March 6th at 6 p.m. on Metro Cable Channel 14. Once posted, the recording of this meeting can be viewed on demand at youtube.com/Metro Cable 14 and on the city's website at www.cityofranchocordova.org.
All right, thank you very much. I'm gonna go ahead and call our new police chief, Sean, up here. Nailed it. So close to knowing your name. And have him give us our pledge, and then we'll move on to invocation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Awesome. All right. And at this, can I call on Siri?
Mahima Patel and Pratna Desai
Excellent. Come on up, guys.
from Babs Charities.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members, city staff, and community members. My name is Pratna Desai, and I'm a resident of this beautiful city, Rancho Cordova. On behalf of all the volunteers of BAPS Samnaran Hindu Temple, I would like to lead in a peace prayer. Harihi Om Tyohu Shantirantarikshagu Shantihi Prithvi Shantirapah Shantirokadayah Shantihi वनस्पतयः शान्तिर्विश्वे देवाः शान्तिर्ब्रह्म शान्तिः सर्वगो शान्तिः शान्तिरेव शान्तिः सामा शान्तिरेधि जतो यतः समीहसे ततो न अभयं कुरु शन्नः कुरु प्रजाभ्यो भयं न पशुभ्यः विश्वानि देव सदृतानि परासुव जबरदन्तन् आसुव Om Shanti 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 Sushanti Bhavatu Sarvarishta Shanti Bhavatu. My name is Mahima Patel, and I am a resident of this beautiful city of Rancho Cordova, which me and my family call home. I will now translate the prayer that was recited. May there be peace in heaven, peace in the sky, peace on earth, peace in the water, peace in the plants and herbs, peace in the trees and forests, peace among all the divine beings. May there be peace in the universe, peace in the supreme beings, peace everywhere. True peace, and let that peace come to us. May all beings experience tranquility, and may there be no fear from any direction. May all creatures live in a peace and harmony without fear. Oh God, may you remove all obstacles and difficulties, and may all that is good and auspicious come to us. Om, peace, peace, peace. May there be supreme peace, and may peace be everywhere, free from all the troubles and dangers. We thank you again for allowing us to this wonderful opportunity to recite the prayers.
Thank you, guys. Great job. All right. Nice job, guys. All right. Members of the community, this is a public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the council for any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time by completing and submitting a speaker card to the city clerk. For items not on the agenda, speakers will be called by the mayor at this point on the agenda when the item will be heard. Speakers are encouraged to keep their comments to 3 minutes or less and state the name of the community residents under the provision of California Government Code. City council is prohibited from discussing or taking immediate action on any item not on the agenda unless the item is demonstrated to be of emergency nature. Immediate action arose after the posting of the agenda. Stacy, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we'll start with Dr. Marlena Urick.
Hey, coming up, guys.
You'll have up to 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, City Clerk, and staff. My name is Dr. Marlena Urick. I'm a resident of Mather, and I'm also the CEO of Always Learning and the originator of Ways of Kindness as a community initiative. I'm here tonight to sincerely thank you for your investment in the children and families of Rancho Cordova through the Community Enhancement and Investment Fund. Your support allowed us to bring the Ways of Kindness program to 7 local schools during Kindness Week, which is February 9th through the 13th. More than 2,500 students, parents, and school staff participated in this school-wide effort focused on social-emotional learning, including empathy, inclusion, and positive action. Students didn't simply learn about kindness, they practiced it daily. Each student wrote on a personal act of kindness on a pennant, and together those individual actions created a visual wave across the campuses, reminding children that they matter and their choices affect each other. And here's an example of what you'll see at our 7 schools in Rancho Cordova. So just as an example of some of the things that the children wrote, smile at someone today. In the joy of others, donate things to poor people, help a homeless person, and help feed the hungry. What mattered most was not the decorations, but it was a change in behavior and connection. Counselors and staff reported students reaching out to peers who were usually alone, including others at recess and lunchtime, and expressing appreciation to teachers and parents. One of the pennants I saw said, "I love this place." But children began recognizing that they do have the power to improve their school community. In a time when children are experiencing increased anxiety and isolation, this project gave them something very important: a sense of belonging, empowerment, and hope. They learned that they are not helpless and that they can make a difference. I would like to personally invite you and the City Council members of the community to join on March 6th at Rancho Cordova Elementary School at 5:30 p.m., where they'll be creating another live Waves of Kindness activity with students and families. Because of the success of this program, I will also be applying for future grants to bring in the Waves of Kindness to the city's International Festival on May 9th and the Kids' Day in the park in April. Your continued support allows us to strengthen not only our schools, but the culture of our entire city. Thank you for believing in our children and for helping Rancho Cordova become not only a growing city, but a caring one. Thank you.
The additional public comment that I have was submitted via email for general public comment, but in reviewing the comments, it more relates to the RCPD update. So I am not going to share those at this time under general public comment, but I will wait to share those names and report that out during the RCPD update. So with that being said, there's no additional public comment at this time.
All All right, let's go ahead and move on to, no presentations, always good. And so let's go on to council reports, and let's go have Joe. What you got?
Just broke my phone in the parking lot, so there goes my alarm tomorrow morning. Someone can knock on my door and wake me up. That would be really appreciated. I am a late riser. Had two different opportunities arrived recently with commercial property renters in our city who happen to have an infamous bad landlord, one of the common ones, and been helping them with these really straightforward legal issues and getting some results for them. And it's just kind of crazy how you get bullied if you don't have a lawyer by some of our commercial property owners. Let's see. I was at an endorsement interview process Friday night they've got the primaries coming up, and local city had a council member candidate up asking as the incumbent to be endorsed, and it made me chuckle that, everything she was rattling off as her accomplishment, she did it, and that was staff. That was like, you had amazing employees who went and did all that stuff for you. And the way you describe it is mine. I built this park, I did this. And I would like to think we give our staff a lot more credit than maybe some of our other electeds do. Last but not least, George Washington Carver, that whole situation. Hoping that we can help however we can, realizing that there appears to be a morale issue there, maybe even unrelated to the financial issues. Had a lot of outreach. Some teacher at the school called me the other night for about 30 minutes, and she was on the verge of tears. And, people really want to see it succeed, but they have issues with how it's being run. And so however we can help facilitate, I would encourage us to do so.
Are they on the positive side of moving into the Folsom Cordova district?
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, I think the goal would probably be to not have a time period where nothing's happening there, where people currently there can graduate, things of that nature.
Yeah, agreed.
And the fact that it's a charter maybe makes it a bit more flexible in that regard, I would imagine. But
David.
A few things going on. Linda will recall this, I am once again tiering first-tier suburbs for the National League of Cities. This is a committee that we're going to rename ourselves the Suburban Council, so the First-Tier Suburbs Council, because I don't think people know what first-tier suburbs is. It just means an aging suburb, basically. So I think Suburban Council will cover it. But it's allowing me to sort of step back 10 or 15 years ago when I was doing this for NLC the first time and look at the state of the art and thinking about how suburbs age. So I expect in this year and probably next year, I'll be coming back to you guys with some ideas from that little adventure I get to take again. But if you have ideas about things that could be programmed into the curriculum this year for first-tier suburbs, I'd appreciate hearing about those. I've got plenty, of course, from things that we've done, but I'm interested in new stuff you may have gathered from elsewhere too. I am coaching the academic decathlon team again at SJV, and this Saturday is our big competition. So when we beat a bunch of the neighboring jurisdictions, and if you hear tears and wailing, that you will know why we did that. It wasn't soccer this time, it wasn't track, it was academic decathlon that beat them. And that's fun. And last Saturday night, I was honored with an award actually from SJV. Linda, you were there, Mikey, you were there, some staff members were there, I appreciate it very much. The mayor was there, made an appearance. People were very happy to see him in the room. And it was a fun little award to get. And it's hard for me to believe I've been doing that stuff there for a decade. More than a decade. It doesn't seem possible, but it's been incredibly rewarding. The Clark Massey relays were last weekend. I don't know how many people remember who Clark Massey was. I did not know him. Linda may have. I don't know. He was a track coach here between like 1960 and 1980 at Cordova High, and he had the incredible distinction of leading a track team through like 14 years of never losing a meet. which that's just unheard of. So he is a very famous track coach in the state, and they had this track meet in his honor for probably 20 years following his death. And then during the pandemic, it stopped, and the track coaches over there did not restart it until just recently, basically with our support of facilities and for athletics, so they restarted it. And we hosted, this is the bang we get as a city for this, we hosted 27 different teams, thousands of athletes last Saturday from high schools all over the Sacramento region who walked in there and thought, wow, this is a great place. This is really well built. This is really well run. So that's our positive image again, right, to the region. So that was a big success. I'm happy that we were part of that. Other than that, I'm filling my time with meetings at Sac Sewer, Air Quality District, SACOG, and then that American River Conservancy one I can never quite get the acronym right for, which I think, Garrett, you might have to cover for me as I'm at NLC when they have their next meeting.
I can't wait.
It's low pressure. They already said they're done giving us money anyways. So.
It's kind of an
showing
annual
up?
meeting,
I ain't
right?
showing up.
Already gave you enough money.
Twice a year, yeah. Not too onerous.
All right, excellent. Sear Dog.
I was kind of out sick the last 2 weeks, so my report is pretty light. Congratulations, council member. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend your event, but I heard it was pretty good.
Since you were sick, I'm glad you didn't. But I'm glad you're better and here today.
Yeah, so, I did do a radio interview with CAP Radio to talk about AI and robotics ecosystems. So Rancho Cordova is in the news and it's staying in the news. So every opportunity that we can get to promote Rancho Cordova, especially from an AI perspective, I'll be there. So that's one thing that I did in the last 2 weeks. Thanks.
Linda.
Okay, well, I must be the one who got overloaded with meetings. So, yes, I know the event for David Saturday night was really nice. And Garrett, you can talk about it since I wasn't able to stay the whole time. But, congratulations and well-deserved. It's budget season. The library is talking about its budget. The library's budget is oddly divided into two different entities. One is the city of Sacramento, and the other is the unincorporated county, including all the cities. So the portion of the library budget that comes from Sacramento County and the incorporated cities is nice and healthy, and there's no problems with it. But the budget from the city of Sacramento is not sustainable, as they said, and I know our finance director alerted me to that fact. Regional Transit met. We had a Growing Strong Neighborhoods meeting, and the great thing about the Growing Strong Neighborhoods meeting is that the police department talked about some special enforcement projects they have going on, so we'll probably hear about that a little bit later from them. We had a really good meeting with Folsom Cordova 2x2. And probably the highlight of the last 2 weeks was having our sheriff come to the Rancho Cordova luncheon a couple of Fridays ago. And he made a great speech. And he talked about everything that's important to Rancho Cordova, which is really our children. And he and Adam House and the police chief in Sacramento are wonderful examples of the kind of children that have grown up here in Rancho Cordova, and we're extremely proud of all of them. Thank you.
All right. Move on to me. So here's a slow rundown. JPA met with on the connector. So we have to decide what we want to do about the connector. They're switching out some stuff. It's slowing down. And we have to find a way to match a $25 million grant. And so every dollar we can find that we can put toward this, we can have a match. And if we can't find money, then the grant would go away. So we need to fight to keep that money and find out who can give us more money. Met with Insight, Herman Kaiser, which is actually interesting because we have so many machine plants, and they're the ones that work on the ultrasounds and stuff for cancer. And so they build that here in Rancho Cordova. Amazing partner. What a great business to have in Rancho Cordova. They're looking to add and grow their business. And so I'm trying to meet with all the CEOs to see how business is, to make sure we have a key pulse on it, and they're doing great. I missed it, and I apologize in advance, my friend, but they opened up Pan Bagels. And she's right next to my house, so that makes it even worse. But great bagel shop. I eat there almost weekly. Wife and I walk there, and it's a great partnership. The person was there, has been in the city for years, doing everything from trucking to real estate, and now they're opened a bagel shop, and so it's delicious. And they literally,
Is that because truck drivers like to eat bagels?
they do. They love bagels, and one of the best apple fritters in the region. I don't know why, but you know when the edge is crispy and the sugar coordinates and it gets and you can eat
I will
it.
tell Lee.
It's stupid. And they never
My
have
husband
enough.
happens to be
and I
particularly
always,
fond of apple fritters.
if you don't get there early enough, it's gone. And it's
Yes.
that crispy, delicious breakaway
problem.
sugar. You never have to eat the whole apple fritter because that's just ridiculous. And that's a real depression day. But most of the time, you can get like a couple bites in. I had coffee with the mayor. Thank you for everyone that shows up for that. It's interesting, the different community members that show up to the coffee with the mayor, so I can talk to them and find out how things are going. It was funny because I was there and I just found out that the CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters just moved into Rancho Cordova. So it's funny because I'll be sitting at a coffee shop and all of a sudden they're like, I'm not even here for that, but just so that. And then we had the people that are doing the warehouses over out towards on 50. Their guy came out and talked about how he's really excited and he didn't want to share with me who was moving into those warehouses, but I was like, well, you should just tell me quietly. That way no one knows. It's secret. It's just between me and you. So then he's like, I'm not going to tell you, but he told me anyways. But it's very exciting. I'm not going to say it on the thing. I won't ruin it for him. But yeah, but they're good partners, and they now have another 100,000 square feet. And I met with some of the CEOs and are looking at bringing manufacturing back to our city, which is going to be anywhere from 2,500 to 3,500 jobs on development, and that is super exciting. So we rolled Black History Month, but before I did that, I accepted an award for Rancho Cordova for the 38th Black Expo and Black Excellence, and so that was fun talking to them. They actually bought the new mica for the city of Sacramento, and so I got to talk to her about what she saw and how her plans are and how the city of Sacramento is and how she's going to overcome $60 million of debt. So I hugged her and we cried together and we said, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Met the CEO of Log Off Brewing. He's awesome. He's actually worker bee there for like, I think 6 years. And then when they sold off, he went and bought it. They're doing well. They're looking at a little bit of expansion, but for the most part, they're more looking for who the best partner is to have the brewery, where the brewery at. They like what they have, but they're always looking for a new home. So we're going to help them out to make sure that they stay locked in the city. Met with the CEO of the Sac Marriott. He just spent, I think, $22 or $23 million redoing. Had literally the nicest spread I've ever seen at a hotel. Like steak upstairs, oysters downstairs. Like it was crazy. Like I'm like, what is this? Is this a hotel? And he's like, yeah, no, this is how I'm showing off. And I'm like, that's great. And then he was like, hey, he's like, I'm really excited about that stadium. And I was like, yeah. He's like, but you didn't ask me to put my name on it. And I was like, well, technically it's not my stadium, but I would love for you to be on our stadium. So
We just want to know where your flapper dress was.
flapper dress, listen, I was ready. I had my gangster hat on and my machine gun in the background, my Tommy gun. I was ready. I know how to do zoot suit, right? You better watch out.
20s theme for anybody listening to
Yes.
this.
It was all over the grapevine.
Roaring 20s
That's just how I
thing.
walk
Roaring
around Rancho
20s.
Cordova. I don't know what you're talking about. Sabrina the songstress. I think my staff already knows they do an amazing job, but the fact that they put together with the Cordova Community Council all these cool events for Black History Month, and the fact that you could go and hear jazz in the city kind of lit my whole life up. I was just super excited. So Sabrina the songstress came in, took over the MAC, and we had her singing a bunch of really cool old jazz songs. So my family has history in jazz. My grandma was a jazz pianist a long time ago, back in when it was really hard to find jobs, and so she'd work at bars at night playing jazz musician. And her sister was a famous concert pianist, and they both would war on pianos against each other during Christmas, with one thinking that she could just, like, you could hum to my grandma and she would pick up the song and play how it would sound, whereas my other grandma would complain about how lazy her finger work was and would show her how to play professional. And when those two were together, it was an amazing sight because they would try to one-up each other. Met with GSEC and figured out how we're going to work together to really grow the city's AI ecosphere. What can we do to make sure that the stadium is successful, and how they're going to sell Rancho Cordova as the leader of AI and robotics and really make us a statement for the region. Had a vice mayor meeting with my favorite person, Linda. Had another mayoral minute, which is fun to do because then I get to talk. Today was exciting. I met with Senator Padilla and talked about how he says he's pretty confident about getting us money for the rail on Horn Road, that there's money for that. And then we had a long talk about how we really want to change the narrative of that California can just do it itself.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to go to the feds to ask money, we'll just make it ourselves and earn it ourselves. And so he likes to see a city that basically is doing housing and economic growth, because he says that's the two things. He's concerned about the flight. Like, we're having massive flight out of California to the tune of where it was affecting electoral races or electoral votes. And so what we want to do is make it attractive to come back, because we still have the best climate. It's just making it the best business climate and enough housing. And so they like the model of Rancho Cordova, how we're doing it the way we've done it. And I think that's also because you and David set up a contract city. And I think that's the model that everyone needs to move into nowadays, because that's allowed us to stay that and very conscious of where we spend our money. And so they're excited to show off Rancho. When we go to cap, he would like to sit down with us and say, how can we make this a model that really goes? And I said, you should start. The growth that we're seeing in the city is a reflection of you as well. So don't pretend like you're just in this field, like you don't get to accept some of this. I was like, start coming to our meetings and start accepting like this growth and saying that what you're doing is affecting us in a good way. And I said, it'd even be cooler is if you came and met with the CEOs and told them that you were. So they're actually thinking about, instead of, how people in the olden days would be like, you're just lucky to come to California. They're thinking more of the congressmen and senators will show up to big businesses and be like, we're really happy. Thank you so much for being here. And is there a way that we can help you to grow in California? So,
Regardless of your party perspective, but he is a good guy. He, quite some time ago, and David, you might have been there, before he got elected to the Senate when he was Secretary of State, he came to Cordova High and did a discussion with all the students about registering to vote and pre-registering to vote. It was really very nice. He talked about his family and his background, and it was really well received.
Yeah, I met him several times in the past 2 years and spoke with him. And the other interesting fact about him is he's a former president of the League of California Cities.
he brought that up.
So he definitely gets like the city perspective
Yeah.
on things.
He was funny. He's like, I'm from the inland of California. He's like, I understand how hard it is to get noticed when you're not one of the big cities. And I just really would love, he likes that. He says he understands. He also, guess he was something in LA and he helped build a stadium. So he's like, if you need to commiserate, he's like, I know what you guys are going through. So I'm like, cool, can you help? And then last, we met with downtown Dova, the progress. It is a grind, but we are moving forward. And so I always say every step forward is a good step. A lot of reports are coming back. They had a lot of reports for the staff while we were there, which was excellent. So that means everyone's kind of keeping each other honest. And I think we're looking at an excellent timeline to have it before Planning Commission in the next 3 to 4 months, and then to us, for us to give us an attaboy, and then hopefully breaking ground. And they have such an aggressive timeline, but everyone's seeming to treat it more like it's for Rancho, by Rancho, and so everyone wants to see it successful. So that's awesome. Micah.
Thank you, Mayor. The timing was great with Senator Padilla's office because it gave us the community project funding dollars are out now for both the Senate and the congressional district offices. So we are working on ideas and projects for those. So we'll definitely be submitting a list of ideas from our team to them as far as for grant opportunities. So it was good to hear directly from them what they care about, so we can align things that we care about as far as for the federal priority. So that was good timing. I did speak at the Pro Youth event last Monday, which was great in the evening, and so those are always very fun events to go and talk about what it is we do here and what the role is, and lots of good questions from the youth in that sense of kind of what they have to look forward to. And I always tell them they will be future council members and city managers someday. So I look forward to seeing them be successful in that way. We did have a general plan community meeting last week as well. So we had about 50 residents show up. So thank you for the planning team who put that together. And not only the planning team, but all the other staff that go and attend. That general plan has a lot of different fingers and touches many different departments. And so the team put that together. And so a lot of good folks, a lot of folks we hadn't seen before. So that was good to see a different turnout for that event on Wednesday. We also, as kind of an internal conversation, we had Black History Month Lunch and Learn, and we had Bishop Parnell Lovelace come to the event, which was great for a community like ours to have the bishop come in a city of our size, come and talk about the history of, is actually on the Gullah Geechee kind of people. And so he gave a great connection and actually made a great connection to those individuals and kind of what it means to be like the city of Rancho Cordova, and made a good reference and a connection there, which he does, if you've ever heard the bishop speak. And so I suggested to Shelley that he come and do that same thing at a future Cordova luncheon. So that was great for the team. We had about 40, 50 of our team members there to come and hear about Black History Month and have had him come. So those are just some of the highlights for me from last week. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right. All right, consent calendar items, matter deemed routine and non-controversial by staff unless a member of the council wishes to pull an item for individual consideration. All items may be approved in one motion. Staff or council, is there anyone who wishes to pull a consent calendar item? Casey, Stacy, is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
Can I have a motion?
Then I will move approval of consent calendar items 9.1 through 9.9.
Roll call, please.
The second was Councilmember Little.
It was.
Thank you. Councilmember Sander. Aye. Councilmember Little. Yes. Councilmember Pulapati.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Budge.
Yes.
Mayor Gatewood.
Yes.
The motion passes.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and we're doing public hearing items. No. Let me just see, yeah. No, consent public hearing items consist of matters deemed routine and non-controversial by staff unless a member of the council wishes to pull an item. Why is it the member? I'm gonna go ahead and open the public hearing and ask Stady, is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close this.
And I will move approval of item 10.1.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Pulapati.
Yes.
Councilmember Sander. Aye. Councilmember Little. Yes. Vice Mayor Budge.
Yes.
Mayor Gatewood.
Yes. All right, move on to regular calendar items. This is going to be good. Darcy, come on up here. And we are going to talk about the historical building and site inventory within the city of Rancho Cordova. And Darcy, go ahead and staff report. Sorry, Stacy. Darcy, go ahead. Hit it.
Do you need to call the item? Right. Read it? I'll read it real quick.
Really? I just read it.
Okay.
This is mean. Hit it.
Good evening, Mayor Gatewood, members of the council, Darcy Gillard with the Community Development Department. Before you this evening will be a discussion regarding historical buildings and sites within the city and receive some direction on potential next steps. The existing general plan has an entire element that talks about cultural and historical resources. And it plays upon various aspects of the historic resources of the city. So history dating back to Native Americans, gold mining, historic railroad operations, the Pony Express, Mather Field, and Aerojet. There's various policies and actions within the general plan to help with the preservation of cultural resources as well as historical. This discussion is going to focus on the historical element of the general plan. Before you on the screen are 8 different locations within the city that are identified in the general plan as having either some sort of local community significance, or like number 4, which is actually already listed on the California Historic Landmark, and that's the American River Grange Hall. So these were specific identified locations or sites that were done way back when we first did the general plan. But the general plan also has language in there that says if there are other local identified sites or structures that we want to preserve and protect, we can modify this list at any time and add those to that. Before you on the screen are the 5 different specific action items in the general plan that relate to the preservation of historic buildings within the city. These could be federal, state, or just local significance. The first action item that's up there is something that's an ongoing thing that we do throughout the city. We're always going to be compiling and collecting information on the history of our city. So that one is ongoing. The next 4 items are things that we have not done to date. And specifically, there's a few on here that would be triggered and geared just towards looking at the local significance of sites within the city. So staff's suggested work plan to look at identifying local significant sites as well as how do we preserve those sites would be to focus on that list that I previously showed you, those 8 structures. And then by the suggestion of council and or the community is also identify additional sites. Associated tasks could include identifications of those sites, which is going to require some surveying. It's possible that some locations may now have federal or state significance, and that's part of the process. Looking at potential community outreach component to get feedback from the community on locations. At the end of the process, you're going to want to do something that actually protects the buildings. So you're looking at some sort of ordinance, standards, regulations, to protect the buildings. There will be a fine line between wanting to preserve a building but also not wanting to punish a homeowner if they happen to have significance because their building's 50 years or older. So through the process, those are things that we will take a look at because we certainly don't want somebody to have to go through a cumbersome process to switch out windows or change their roof. So just in closing kind of direction and next steps that we're looking at from council, you have 3 different options. You could direct staff to devise a work plan that implements all of the general plan action items. So that would be all of those action items that were listed on that previous screen. The one action item that wouldn't be included in staff's recommendation would be to take a very detailed look at Kilgore Cemetery, who's buried there, take an inventory of everything. That's a pretty cumbersome process that could be done as a separate action item at a later date. Staff's recommendation is to now just focus on sites and structures identified in the general plan and any additional ones that you would identify. Additionally, you could take no action at this time and direct us to come back at a later date. So with that concludes my presentation. Again, if you do choose option 1 or 2, we would be looking for you to suggest any additional sites that you want us to look at as part of the process.
Right. Stacy, we need public comment.
Yes, we have one speaker, Helen Wellen-Bishaw.
My name is Helen Whelan-Bashaw, and everybody knows I'm all about preservation for future generations. I do have some concerns. You know, the city paid $1 million to refurbish Kilgore Cemetery, and that was in, was it 2007? I think it was. Then in 2023, we celebrated our 20-year anniversary, and out the gate, we talked about the Nisemen and the Maidu. They were the original owners of the land, but yet we have nothing dedicated to them. There is one site available within the city's boundaries that does have significant sites on it that date back 3,500 years old. I want to know when we're going to recognize and save land that affected the original owners of the land. We mentioned them in a 20-year anniversary right out the gate, but yet we've done nothing to recognize them. That same location has what we call heritage trees. We're the city of trees, but yet we have allowed TrueMark to come in and deep disc along the root lines to kill off many of the trees. There's a gorgeous oak tree that is a historical tree sitting right in the front of that site. You then have the Routier Station, which was built in 1866, later became a post office in 1871. Cities bought it. They need a location for it. What better place than to move it across the street right on that piece of property? Because it would have ties with things. It would have ties with the fact that there are documented areas that aren't disclosed in the area of the Native Americans, dating back 3,500 and 2,500 years. So I want to know when we're going to come into the ages and recognize the original owners of the land. There's nothing in the city that recognizes them. And I've been pushing for that for a long time. And you want to move the Routier Station. Once you move it, it loses its historical relevancy, becomes a historical building, and it is movable. Then you have the Caprice House, the yellow house on Caprice, that is like 1913 or 1920. That's an old house. That's privately owned. You might want to look at connecting, getting that, because that was close to where the Mills Station building used to be before it was moved again. So we have 1 mile of Rancho Cordova that has a lot of historical relevancy, and I do hope we don't build that light rail station that's going to block the what used to be the old winery area. Thank you.
In addition, we had one additional public comment from Brenda Gustin and Michelle C. St. Clair for this item of 12.1. It's been distributed to the council, placed on the city's website, and printed for the public in the back of the council chambers.
Excellent, thank you. Council, anything?
So I can comment.
All right, Linda, hit it.
At this point in time, our general plan, the information in our general plan is really out of date and not particularly accurate. So I came up with a list of 11 different, well, actually 12 different, 10 different structures and 2 sites. Any list of Rancho Cordova historic properties needs to include Mill Station and the Sheep Herder, the old Edwards Motel, what we consider, Brookside Winery, which was the Silver Brothers Winery. There is a preschool at Cordova Baptist Church, and I think the original builder was a gentleman named George Hanlon. I have to check that. It was Chris Williamson's uncle. They are basically just east of the intersection of Georgetown and Coloma. We do still have the Menke House, which is off of West La Loma, and it doesn't look like anything it used to, but it was the Menke House. They grew hops in that area. The house on Caprice is the Dowenauer House.
Now you just clarified it
Yeah.
for me.
Dowenauer's owned a lot of property in that area, including a lot of what we've been using as Mills Crossing. They ultimately sold it to the Fongs, or Mr. Fong, young Mr. Fong, who died. There's a house on Malaga at Ellenwood, sort of, behind Rayleigh's, that I've always thought looked like it was kind of out of place, like maybe it was an original house in that area. It's kind of brick. We do need to include Routier Station. Joseph Routier built it. Well, no, actually, that's not accurate. Joseph Routier took over all of the agricultural properties for Joseph Folsom and stayed on the property. And ultimately, the railroad built him that area, that building, to house all this produce so it didn't get rained on in the wintertime. And they would take it up to Truckee and put ice on it and carry it across country to the markets back east. There is the Johnny Horn House on Horn Road at the top of the hill. People think of that as the Utterback Sod House, but it's really Johnny Horn's house. There is the Grange. And then we have to include Kilgore Cemetery, and you don't have to worry about it. I have all of the original books and the maps and everything, and we know it goes beyond what the Girl Scout did back, and actually the Girl Scout became a police officer. So our police department would remember her, but she researched the original graves, and then you can match them to the original map and the original cemetery record books. And then while I'm not a fan of just declaring a site, on the other hand, the property that the Park District has on the east side of Studeris, that they're going to make a park ultimately to match the one on the left side, that actually was the Williamsons' house. I mean, that's where the Williamsons' house was. And there's a brick monument out there. And if you want to consider brick monuments, then obviously, I think it says something about the, 15 Mile House. And I did say the Grange. Yeah. So those would be my additions. I can't think of anything else around here. We really don't have to work on the Kilgore Cemetery. Like I said, I've got all of that information. But from my perspective, the most important thing we do is direct staff to come back with some sort of a preservation process.
David, do you have anything about the preservation process?
Yeah, Linda, I agree with your list. Where is the Minky House? Where is that located?
Okay. West Aloma, first turn to the right. It's now like a boys' home. It's at the end of the street. It's a dead-end road.
Yeah, okay, so it
I
just
can't
sort of
think of
hooks
the-
right into it? It's been
Yeah,
heavily
I can't
remodeled?
think of the name of the street.
Okay. And then the Downhauer House on Caprice is the other one in that
Yeah, if you
neighborhood that's
go,
old.
turn on Caprice off of Paseo Drive,
Yeah,
make the curve. It's the northern boundary of Mills Crossing.
okay.
What we think of as Mills Crossing are the farm properties.
So you mentioned a couple of brick monuments. Isn't there another marker on Folsom Boulevard?
Well, there is, you're right, in front of the gas station.
Yeah,
But that was, I think that's a Pony Express monument.
That's what I think
And
it
that's
is.
why people used to think that Mill Station was a Pony Express stop, when
Right.
it wasn't. The first Pony Express stop was down at 5 Mile House in Brighton, where Brighton Station is located, and the freeway goes over over Folsom Boulevard. But the second stop was out at 15 Mile House before they went out to Moreland Island.
so just thoughts to add to Linda's list. Certainly like Pony Express, Lincoln Highway, First Railroad in the far west. Got to be careful about that because St. Louis is in the west technically. They did pretty much everything before anything happened in Sacramento.
The Lincoln Highway's good.
Lincoln Highways.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lincoln Highway, Pony Express, Mather, and Mather Base Headquarters is now gone, but the site is still there. Some of us would hope we could restore that or do something with that at some point. The whole Cold War thing that we're sort of investigating with the National
Yeah.
Park Service, there probably is something we ought to worry about there.
Yeah.
You know, space race, Cold War, significant things happen here, but I think that kind of encompasses nicely. And of course, we've got under this some Native American resources that probably none of us fully understand.
Yeah.
what's there, where it might be, or how it might best be utilized.
If you read Margaret Bolton's little book from 1960 something or other, she does start off with a chapter about the Native Americans who were here.
Because I know I've seen that there are surveys done by the state, but some of them seem to be not particularly well done. Other work is probably well done. I just have never sorted that out. But that might be something we want to look at.
All right. I know you want to say something.
Are we good?
No, he's got something.
I was just gonna say, I went back on Google Maps historical, and my neighbor's properties look so bad for so many years. I think he might qualify.
Oh, ouch.
Dang it, Joe. See what you. And at that note, Darcy, did you hear everything you're going to need?
We did to be careful about that 50-year-old house statement, though, because we've got, how many hundred would be 50 years old? Hundreds and
Yeah,
hundreds.
really, when you consider
Right.
modern-day Rancho began to build
Yeah.
in 1955, all of a sudden, it makes the rest of us look very
do-
old.
Yeah, now those are over 70 years old, so.
Losing control. All right, do we have a motion, or do we want to send the staff back to go come up with a policy? Is that what you wanted, Linda?
What do you think, Darcy?
Well, I heard clear direction from 2 council members. I think we just need one more
Yeah,
to give the
good.
direction to.
Do it.
Okay, that's all we need is direction. I don't need a motion.
I think that,
excellent.
that ag history, whether it's wine or hops, mining history,
Can we do the rocket history? Can we please, Grandma?
Rocket history.
The
Air
shooting
Force history.
on the backside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, the interesting thing is we think of specific things out here, like the walnuts that the Williamsons planted and pears and peaches. But Joseph Routier was a Frenchman who got hired by Folsom to come out and manage his properties, which he had ultimately gotten from Leidesdorf through action of Abraham Lincoln. And he grew a much wider variety of things, I'll call them French plums or, some other stuff like that. It was really the, what's her names that brought the grapes in the very early 1900s.
I like you putting your hand out to David like he's, remember the 1900s when you were there? Remember you showed up and he had the grapes?
not the majority of them.
So I want to kind of just kind of frame a little bit, kind of some of this conversation is around a little bit of, it sounds like just kind of telling our historical story and some of the but some of this is related to, and what this effort would be focused on is really looking at particular buildings and things to make sure if there's policy changes we need to make, that we go and make those changes to protect those buildings. The other part of this conversation we can talk about, think about, which is more about the kind of history and historical significance of some of these other places that may not relate to preservation or some of these other pieces. So
The other thing we need Darcy's staff to research is establishing our own historic list. Sacramento County has one. Helen is almost correct. If you've moved a building, there has to be a reason for it to move in order for it to remain historic. So I never went through the process to put it on the National Register, but the county was perfectly willing to add it to their historic list of properties.
So for us, the next step would be is, once we have the list identified from you today, is to actually do the cultural significance research and
Yes.
studies to bring back for that further conversation, because you're not picking the list right now and kind of how you
Right.
want to kind of initiate it. This is really just making sure we have enough or have the list that's on your mind that we can, when we bring back the information for these different
Right.
properties, we didn't miss anything in that conversation. So.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next. Rancho Cordova Police Department update. Stacy, want to announce it?
Nope, you've done a great job.
You're doing a great job today. Chief Mateo, get over here. Mateo, last meeting? Last one. Oh, this is last meeting.
Last one in this outfit.
Oh,
They come in, so I can take a comment.
it's terrifying.
So all the hard questions will be directed towards the retiring Chief Tamayo, and all the easy ones will get towards the new chief, Chief Hampton.
Do you
That's the goal
like
for
our
today. so.
uniforms? How do you think you'd make them look better? Do you think red is whole uniform? No. All right, go ahead.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, city staff, and members of the public. Thank you for having me here. Matt Tamayo, Rancho Cordova Police Department, and like we said, joining us is new chief, or soon-to-be chief, Sean Hampton. I want to go through the numbers for this last year as far as the crime stats and pick out some things that we've been working on and share with you. So we'll start off with total calls for service. We have done a comparison in the last 5 years, and it's the first graph there is the total citizen-initiated and officer-initiated calls. So we're come down a little bit. I know the graphs look highly different, but it's about 1,800 calls for service. But this is anything from someone calling to report a suspicious vehicle in their neighborhood or an officer identifying a suspicious vehicle. And so in our computer-aided dispatch tracking, this is how many calls and sort of what the calls for service over the last several years look like. Online reports, again, not too much difference over the last 5 years, little peaks and valleys, but it seems we've been doing quite a bit of education in our neighborhood watch meetings, our Citizens Academy, and other engagements that we've been part of, and letting people know that, hey, if you want, there is a online reporting option. And so it seems that some of that messaging has been getting out there and people are using it more frequently. Moving into our crime stats for the year, these are all NIBRs, so that's your National Incident-Based Reporting System numbers. These are the numbers that we share with the federal government for overall tracking. And looking at the crime stats, some categories have gone up and some have gone down. I can promise you that overall crime is down in the city, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then going through the categories, homicide, we have one listed there, and that has an asterisk next to it. And the reason for that is, if you recall, back in June, there was an incident on the light rail over at Mills Station in Mather Field, and the DA's office declined to prosecute, citing a self-defense case. And so when that incident initially happened, it was cataloged in NIBRs as a murder. However, there are other subcategories, one being justifiable homicide. It hasn't moved yet, but I believe it will be at some point. So for the time being, in order of transparency, we wanted to make sure that we listed it. So your next category is rape, pretty standard throughout the last 5 years. Robbery, looking at the robbery stat, I thought it was a little high this year. And so we had our analysts sort of dig down deeper into it and look. And what we found was 38% of those robberies were petty thefts that turned into robberies. And so as an example, that would be somebody ran into a liquor store or a gas station, grabbed a case of beer, and then ran out. The clerk chased them out, either detained them or tried to detain them. They turned around, pushed the clerk, hit the clerk, or said, hey, I've got a knife or a gun, and the clerk let them go. And so I think that's part of the reason for the spike. I also looked back to 2024 to see if the numbers were comparable. And in 2024, it was about 30% of those 66 were similar circumstances. So it's come up a little bit, but not as high as those numbers suggest. Aggravated assault, interestingly enough, it was the same as last year. Aggravated assaults include threats with a firearm, threats with a knife, domestic violence, any sort of assault where there's more of a significant injury. It could be two people got into a fight on the street and then went their separate ways. Someone later reported it. And then when you look at person crimes total, we have 410 for the year. Moving into property.
Sorry, Chief, could you repeat what is what's aggravated assault?
So aggravated assault can be anything with serious bodily injury, could be threats with a gun, threats with a knife. It could be assault with either of those two weapons. It could be a shooting. It could be two people got into a fight and somebody got their lip split open or lacerated, anything with serious injury.
Okay.
Moving into our property crimes, this is where we saw the biggest decreases. Burglaries went down, our larcenies, so these are the petty thefts, people stealing from, let's say, one of our big box stores or any other business or residents. Maybe someone took a plant off of someone's patio. If it's reported to us, we catalog it. Motor vehicle theft is down significantly. Arsons, this category was up. Looking at the arsons, we found that a high percentage, and I have a note, let me find it. I'll have to find it later, but a high percentage was had a homelessness component. So these are warming fires. These are things that people in that community set on fire, not necessarily to cause property destruction, but mostly to keep warm during the winter months. And then looking at property crimes total, we had a significant decrease. And so when we look at sort of crime over the last several years, from 2023 to 2024, we had about an 11% decrease. And then this last year, 24 to 25, we had a 15% decrease, excuse me. And then overall, between those 2 years, we saw about a 25% decrease in overall crime in the city.
So
And
just a detailed question on larceny. When you describe taking a plant off a porch, does that include porch pirates?
It does, yep. It includes.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Looking at mail theft, this has been significant. We've talked about this a lot. We saw the DA's office today came out and dedicated a mail theft district attorney to the mail theft task force, which I think is a great movement. As you may know, sort of this mail theft task force idea started here, homegrown in Rancho Cordova. We have a partnership with the United States Postal Inspector Service, and we've significantly, I think, not only made an arrest, but some headway in curbing mail theft in this area. Of course, looking at these numbers, you can see that it comes and goes. You'll see the peaks and valleys, specifically starting in April of 25, and those coincide with arrests we've made. So we'll see mail theft go up, we make an arrest, it drops off, then mail theft starts to go back up, we make an arrest and it drops off, and you can sort of see that cycle. And so, I do want to say and share and reiterate that these are the numbers provided to us by the United States Postal Inspector Service. We have a different set of numbers, and they're not equal. Obviously, the Postal Inspector Service numbers are better than ours as far as reporting, and what we found is people are just reporting it one place or another, and what we want to reiterate is report it to both. Let us both know. Now that we have this formal partnership, we're going to get that information anyway, but it's always good for us to capture that data because we can go back and search it, use it to look at crime trends or likely neighborhoods that this is going to occur, and adjust our response accordingly. We also find that people report it in social media, and that may be helpful for them to vent, but we don't know, right? You have to report it to us. We do monitor social media, and so sometimes we're able to pick that out. Community members will also send it to us and say, hey, I think, this person said their mail was stolen, and they put this picture on social media. So we do get some of that info, but I would ask the community to let us know for sure so we can capture that information.
Would it be okay when they post it on social media to tag you guys?
They could do that.
So
Yeah.
that way it'd be something at a minimum, right?
Right.
They don't have to do that. Maybe when you post these kind of things, say at least tag us or where such stuff's happening.
Yeah, I mean, that helps. I would just say they'll call us also because tagging us on social media, it's not always monitored, and we might get it 24 hours later. We've had cases where people have called us and said, hey, somebody just stole my mail, and we were able to track them down, 10 minutes, 15 minutes later because of a great, vehicle description or last known location of travel and things like that. And so we're not going to get that right away on social media. That is another way to report, though, and I would appreciate that. But my message is please call us and tell us right away when it happens. This is a listing of our sort of our successes with our mail theft team. And looking, we started a relationship with our postal inspector back at the end of 2024, but really formalized that relationship in 2025. And so you can sort of see if you go back, you look at these numbers of these arrests, they coincide with these peaks and valleys here. And so what I do want to highlight is these 4-day, 5-day, 1-day operations. These are cops in cars at night watching mailboxes, along with our postal inspector partners, probation, and other regional partners that we have. Some of these were Rancho specific, and some of these were region-wide specific. So the 4-day operation, that one was the entire valley area was part of a sort of a directed operation to locate male thieves. So I think we've been fairly successful. It certainly can get better. We're looking at expanding our partnership. We're looking at bringing in other agencies in the area. We're welcome to, and we want to make it bigger because it is effective. And the partnership with the Postal Service lets us look at not only our state charges, but federal charges, which are much more severe. And when we arrest somebody on state charges, they may spend 3 months, 6 months, a year in jail, depending on the nature of the charges. If it's federal, that might be 5 years to 30 years. So it's a significant difference.
Sorry, so those arrests, are they in Rancho Cordova or with respect to a connection with the Rancho Cordova mail theft?
They're all arrests that we've made in Rancho Cordova.
In Rancho Cordova.
Right. We may have arrested somebody in Citrus Heights or a neighboring city, but it's because of a crime they committed in Rancho Cordova.
Thanks. It's like whack-a-mole. You arrest one and another pops up.
Unfortunately, yes. Our DUI our traffic update with our motor team, and DUI 5 is a dedicated vehicle. We have an officer that works a modified shift, so 6 p.m. to 4 a.m., and his specific mission is traffic safety, but part of that includes DUI enforcement. And so this is just a summary of the activity they did over the year. We issued 3,200 citations. That's not all DUI citations, just to be clear. That's any traffic violation. Office of Traffic Safety provides us money every year, and so we do vehicle safety operations. We do DUI operations. We do education and enforcement operations. An example of an education operation would be around Christmas time and other times throughout the year. We contact juveniles riding bicycles or scooters without helmets, and we give them a helmet. We give them an information sheet that they can share with their legal guardian or parent, and with a goal to, hey, please be safe, wear your helmet. DUI arrests, this is cumulative between our motor team and our dedicated traffic car at night. That's 68 over the year. And then DUI checkpoints, we had 2 in 2025. And then citywide DUI arrests, this is the trend. We had more last year, but I attribute that increase, the 143 in 2025, to having that dedicated traffic safety unit at night. Enforcement 5, so this is one of the programs that we started this past year, and we used data to determine the highest crime areas in the city, and then just thought, hey, what can we do to make to address this crime? And so what we did is we had a staged approach. We created a map. We actually created 2 maps, two of the high crime areas in the city. And the high crime area was based on these crimes listed here, from aggravated assault to weapons violations, vandalism, theft, drugs, narcotics, robbery. And so what we did is we created these maps. We initially put an officer in a vehicle, a marked vehicle, and said, hey, this is your area. This is only your area. Drive around this area, be visible. Say hi to people, sit in parking lots, go up and down every street. And the reason for that was studies have shown that an increased presence of an officer in an area has a cooling effect on crime. And even if an officer drives down a street, that cooling effect can last up to 8 hours. And so we wanted to test it. Hey, is that true? And sure enough, it was. We saw just during that first phase a decrease in these type of crimes. We then went to the next phase, which was directed enforcement. So start, if a car needs to be pulled over, pull it over. If there's a warrant that needs to be served, let's serve that warrant. And that officer started conducting enforcement operations. The next phase was incorporating our special teams, so problem-oriented policing, homeless outreach, crime suppression unit, motors, and they went in there and they conducted their missions in there. And then we went to the next phase, which is our partnership with neighborhood services, and we conducted a crime prevention through environmental design survey of the entire area. And we didn't focus on private residences necessarily or specific businesses, But what we focused on is areas in which the city could enhance, fix, or upgrade to make that area safer. And through that partnership, we conducted a many-page report. We shared it with Public Works and Micah, the city manager, and we found that some of that work was already being done, and some of that work is now being done to enhance those areas and hopefully continue the decrease in crime in those areas. We focused primarily on our first location throughout 2025, and then sort of at the end in December of 25, we transitioned to our secondary location, and we've already seen a decrease in crime there, not as high as the first area, but still a decrease, and so we're hoping that trend continues. And so looking at the graphs, just picked out a couple of the major decreases was burglaries. You can see in 2023 we were pretty high, but going into 2025 we've been able to lower it. Weapons and drug arrests. Now this stat went up, and we attributed that to the work that the officers are doing in the area. They're addressing specific type of crime. And so these were proactive. 18 of these 33 were proactive stops, meaning a search warrant was served, a vehicle stop, a person on probation was contacted, or we did a probation search at their house. And so these are on-viewed activities, which I think led to a majority of the increase. And then our service center. So if you don't know, our service center is open to the public for reports, for consultations, and for quite a few services that many people in our community don't know, and I wanted to take time to highlight it. Of course, you can walk in, you can get information, we can point you in the right direction or handle what your issue may be there, or get an officer there if it's something more higher level. They also answer the phone quite a bit and conduct consultations. I guarantee the phone rang more than 6,509 times. This is just when we provided information that was relevant. A lot of times people call and want to know about a community event or something like that, and we transfer them or we share that info, but that wouldn't qualify as a consultation. Walk-in telephone reports. These are people that want to report crimes, maybe don't have access to a computer or don't want to. They want to come in, and so one of our volunteers will take that crime report. Rancho Cordova Cares. This is a program that many people don't know exists, but this is where our volunteers call people in the community just to check on them. I think it's a great service. Not many people know. We want to get the word out. If you have, a mother, a father, an aunt or uncle who's elderly, who's alone, or you know of somebody who's alone, refer them to us, and our volunteers will call them and check on them from time to time. Online reports, we have a computer actually in our lobby where people can come in, use the computer if they don't have access, and file an online report, and we can walk them through the process. Vacation checks, this is something else we offer that people don't realize. But if you're going on vacation, you can call the service center and let us know what times you'll be gone, and we'll drive by your house and check on you. We don't have a wake-up phone service yet, Councilmember Little, but we could start that if you would like.
You got to drive by his house.
Yeah, we can chirp. Volunteer hours. So almost everybody that works at our front counter is a volunteer, and this is amazing. So just this year, these people from our community, they're Rancho Cordova residents, donated 5,537.5 volunteer hours, and that's just this year. If you look at those people individually, some of them have been volunteering for 10, 15 years in our service center, and so several people by themselves are in the tens of thousands of volunteer hours. So I think that's pretty amazing, and the support that we get from them. VIPS Patrol, so this is volunteers in policing. We have a truck that they drive around, and we log the hours that they're out. And so we had 860 hours of people driving around in patrol. They may be doing vacation checks. They might be picking up a bicycle for us to rehab to give to a child or other things as assigned. So, and for vacation check requests, I just want to put out there ranchocordovapd.com, and that's how you navigate to it. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Sounds great. Any public comment?
Yes. Caitlin Sheehan, and following Caitlin will be Autumn. You'll have up to 3 minutes.
I'm Caitlin. I'm in the Cordova Meadows part of town. I come to you today to talk about concerns about the flock ALPR system. While I understand our police department is a contract with the sheriff, it is our name on the flock contract and our money paying for it. Currently, there are multiple other cities and counties in California that have found flock to be in violation of state law. 5 of those cities have modified, suspended, or canceled their contract due to this violation. San Francisco and San Jose have been facing lawsuits related to their usage. Most locally joining the conversation is Woodland, where fewer than 1% of the nearly 300,000 plates read have been tied to any legal concerns. Woodland community members suspect that their data has been accessed by other organizations on behalf of federal agencies. Current California law prohibits sharing that information with agencies outside of the state. Today, I'm asking that we suspend the system until we confirm no unintended illegal use has occurred and the public have more consideration in the implementation. I want to put some emphasis on the public consideration point here. The first time I could find ALPRs mentioned in council meeting minutes was from June of 2023, where both the presenter and 2 residents voiced concerns about privacy and urged council to factor that into the conversation. After that presentation, ALPRs do not show up in meeting agendas until the approval of the over $1 million contract in December of 2024. In the 19 minutes of that presentation, in questions from council, crime and criminals were the subject of at least 12 different points, while residents were not mentioned once. At that time, we already had a traffic camera system in place, where 10 minutes prior, the police department had spoken about how that system had helped solve mail theft problems. But mail theft was the reason for implementation sold to the public in articles and press releases in August of 2025. Beyond the lack of consideration for residents, there's severe privacy issues found from the flock system that the public is becoming increasingly more aware of. U.S. Senator Wyden from Oregon wrote the FTC requesting investigation due to cybersecurity practices. Some concerns were raised due to the potential for hacking of the system, as had already happened to multiple accounts. The information that was stolen was then found for sale on the dark web. There's another researcher who exposed over 60 cameras just live streaming with no password required. While I can go on for days about the privacy concerns I've learned about, I'll leave you with this one. There's a severe lack of transparency from Flock as they refuse an outside audit and fight to silence any concerns raised about their system. We as consumers need to require better from any vendor that our city works with, especially when it comes to privacy. So again, I urge council to make a decision to suspend while investigation and conversation can happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Autumn. Is your last name Gryshop? Okay,
Close. Grishop.
thank you.
Yes. Hello. My name's Autumn. I've been in here 4 years, and this is my first city council meeting. I've learned a lot, so thank you. I'm here today. I'm concerned about the use and possible expansion of the Flock ALPR cameras in Rancho Cordova. While marketed as public safety tools, these systems collect real-time vehicle data and create significant privacy, security, and financial risks. Currently, Rancho Cordova has 52 or more of these cameras within city limits, and I feel that having these cameras or adding more is a huge concern. First, the California State Auditor found that the license plate images were shared widely without considering whether recipients had a right or need for data, and that 99.9% of stored images belonged to people that were not suspected of any crime. This February 2026, Mountain View, California canceled the Flocked contract after they discovered that over 250 unauthorized agencies performed over 600,000 searches of local data. This lack of oversight raises serious concerns about compliance with California SB 34 privacy law. Second, technical investigations have shown serious vulnerabilities in the system. Flock cameras have been exposed on the open internet without password protection. Sensitive API keys were discovered in the firmware code, and multi-factor authentication was not usually required until 2024. Everyone in this room has to use MFA to sign into their emails, so why wasn't this required for the sensitive data of every person that drives through the city? Reporting noted that even after outreach efforts, approximately 3%...
What is MFA?
Multi-factor authentication.
Thanks.
Reporting noted that even after outreach efforts, approximately 3% of agencies had not enabled MFA, potentially leaving billions of records exposed to this day. Third, mail theft is a crime of opportunity that these cameras cannot physically prevent. The cameras only record vehicle data after an incident occurs and can be bypassed by using stolen plates or masked vehicles. Meanwhile, the city is paying approximately $3,000 per camera per year for a subscription system that independent reporting has shown does not reliably reduce crime. In San Marino, California, burglaries actually increase after installation, despite marketing claims of up to 60% crime reduction. Finally, there have been documented cases of misuse. In one case, Texas deputies abused 83,000 flock cameras to track a woman seeking an abortion. In another case, a Wisconsin officer was criminally charged for using the system to track his ex-girlfriend, demonstrating that abuse is often discovered only after the harm occurs. Before expanding the surveillance infrastructure, I think the city should demonstrate that the existing systems are secure, necessary, and proportionate to the risks that they are intended to address. I ask the council to prioritize less invasive public safety investments, protect the sensitive data of the residents in the city, and to consider removing flock cameras altogether. I emailed a longer list with included references and data that I would encourage you to read. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
In addition to the 2 public speakers that we've heard from, we also received 5 public comments via email. Those individuals who submitted those public comments are Julia Shaw, Kristen Gast, Autumn Grisham, Sarah Moore, and Amanda Bartell. Those have been distributed to the council, placed on the city's website, and printed for the public in the back of the council chambers.
All right, thank you very much. Council, anyone got anything? Siri? Linda? No? Jojo?
I think at the very least, to our constituents, we can respond to their points in writing, maybe staff can, about some of their concerns, which ones we think are founded, which ones we think are unfounded, room for improvement, just because it's caught the community's concern.
I think it's fine. You guys can tell them all the security that we do, because not every city is as technology advanced as ours. We wouldn't leave an open AI or MFA left off of computers or anything of those levels. So it's good to kind of work it through and show them. And I agree with Joe. It's okay. Answer them, tell them how secured our system is, because we don't allow the things that other cities do that would allow MFA not to be put on a camera, or that you could openly access a camera by scanning IP addresses, or that someone would reasonably hack through our encryption walls, because we're different like that. But
And the conversation will continue.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe the city manager can address some of these concerns. Is there anything that you could add of how we're using our surveillance for LPRs?
Sure. So I'll probably defer to the one of the 2 chiefs but I think generally, I think we do have a plan to kind of produce some different documentation as far as what it is and what it isn't, and be able to produce, some of this information for the public to continue to see what is happening. But I think if there are items that I think Chief Tamayo or you want to address, of just kind of what it is, what it isn't, real quick, and then kind of be able to address any of those right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the commenters are not incorrect in the information that they're sharing. Those are valid concerns that did happen. I think, some of those things that happen in other states, whether it's a camera or a privileged database, we have files on people that we've arrested before. Anything can be abused. Anything has the opportunity to be abused. Our goal and our mission is to make sure that it isn't. And so to talk about some of the agencies in California that have gotten away from Flock, what they found was in the Flock user agreement at the time, this has since been corrected by Flock, but at the time, you had to physically go in as an agency and select who you were going to share with and who you were not going to share with. I don't know who's in charge of those other Flock systems, but I can speak on behalf of our system. Ours was always, we didn't share it with anybody out of state. We didn't share it with any federal agencies. I understand immigration enforcement is a huge concern, and we were not sharing that information. And so I think our program, our IT department that manages our Flock contract, was well aware of those and has taken steps to make sure that our data is secure. And Flock does take pictures. It takes pictures of vehicles and license plates in given locations wherever there's a Flock camera. It doesn't follow your car anywhere. It only takes pictures of that intersection. Now, reasonably, if there's a network of Flock cameras, You might be able to tell where someone drove during a given time. What you're not going to be able to see is where they ended up, what they did in between, and where they started. And so we don't just use it for mail theft. It's obviously a tool for mail theft. I will say, since our flock network went live, we had 19 mail theft arrests, and 13 of them were as a result of flock. I'm not going to tell you it was directly because of flock, because it wasn't, but flock was used. It was one piece of information that we used in a broader investigation to locate that particular vehicle. We also use flock for many other things. We use it for theft from a store, and we get a license plate number right away when someone calls in. We use it for parental kidnapping cases. We use it for regular kidnapping cases. We use it from any crime from theft all the way up to shootings and worse. And so it is a valuable tool for us. We don't use it singularly as the only piece of information to make a case. It's also been used to exonerate people or vehicles from, hey, I saw a white car. Well, we know it's not this white car because they weren't involved, and we're able to tell by that license plate data. So it is a tool that we use. It has been valuable. One of the other comments was the camera doesn't show any reduction in crime in an area. And I can see, I don't necessarily disagree with that. It is just a camera. But what it does allow us to do is arrest the people committing those crimes. And the downstream effect is if that person is not committing crimes anymore, then maybe that area is safer. And so it's not a cure-all. I don't think there is any law enforcement technology that's going to 100% stop crime, but it is a valuable tool for investigative follow-up and efficiency and immediate resolution of some of these cases where historically all we would know is there was a white car involved. And now it provides us a lead to resolve that case.
All right, so, good. Thank you. All right, next. Stacy, you can go ahead and read the next subject, please. See, I got it on the last one.
Fiscal year 2025-2026 mid-year financial report.
All right, good evening. Kim Duran, Cara Giorgio, Chief Financial Officer. So we just heard some numbers from the police department, and now we're going to continue that trend, and here's some numbers with our mid-year financial report. So this is the first year, fiscal year 25-26. As you all know, we adopt 2-year budgets here, and so we are currently in year 1 of the budget that was adopted in June of 2025. And as you'll recall, during those budget discussions, we were anticipating an economic slowdown. We were already seeing indicators of some of our key revenues kind of starting to slow. And so overall, our revenues for this year were budgeted 2% below actuals for last fiscal year. At the mid-year mark, so we look basically at the first 6 months of the fiscal year, but we also kind of take it a couple months into the 7th and 8th month to just start looking at trends. And overall, revenues and expenditures in the general fund are really kind of performing as expected and in line with sort of our initial budget estimates. And so even though we're talking tonight about some signs of slowdown, those were anticipated. These are normal economic times. And so we do think that overall the city budget remains strong and we will remain balanced. So just wanted to kind of show some numbers here on our revenue side. This is a lot of information. The last column is really just how the numbers, this is what the revenues look like in the general fund as of the 6-month mark. And as you can see, you know, we don't really get a lot in the first 6 months of the year. So we have to use a lot of kind of other sources of data to start doing some predictions on how the revenues overall are going to perform. But I think one thing is clear is, you know, I talked a lot about in the last 5 years, we saw basically a 35% growth in our general fund revenues, which was extraordinary. However, this year, we are not going to see that continuation of that growth. That is just the reality of where we are. I think overall, we expect things to remain pretty stagnant from the prior year. So I'm going to go into a couple of these key revenues in the next slide just to provide some context overall of how we're doing. So property tax, this is our largest source of revenue in the general fund, and this is really the revenue source right now that is kind of helping us kind of move forward and maintain a pretty balanced general fund budget, and it's helping absorb some of the decreases we're seeing in some of our other revenue sources. So property tax revenues as a whole this year are up 9%. So that's a pretty extraordinary jump, and I'm going to give a little bit more detail in the next slide about that. And we are expected to just kind of slightly exceed our budget projections for the current year. And, in the prior slide, when I had property tax up, you see kind of there's no number in there right now, that first line. We get the first installment of property tax in January, and this year, the county assessor's office has actually implemented a new system, and they have not yet been able to tell us, we got the money, but we don't know how to allocate it yet. We don't have that information from the assessor's office. So we're still working with them and hope they get that in the next couple months. So I thought these were some interesting kind of numbers just to share with you guys on property tax and kind of what's going on with our assessed value. So this first chart at the top kind of just shows all the cities in Sacramento County and the assessed value change from last fiscal year to this fiscal year. And so in green, you'll see Rancho Cordova highlighted at 9.5%, and it's a solid 3 percentage points higher than the next closest city, which was Galt, with Folsom close behind. And then you can see sort of everyone else in the 3, 4, and 5% range. So 9.5% is an extraordinary jump one year over the next. And then the slide or the chart below, the value change by cause, I put this in here because, again, this provides some context of why are our revenues or why is our assessed value growing by 9.5%. And as you look at that sort of on the far right, you can see kind of the percentage that is attributable to that change in value. And so kind of if you go 3 down, you see prior year transfer of ownership. And all the way over the right, you see 48%. And so what that's saying is that almost 50% of that growth that we're seeing is the result of basically properties that were kind of assessed at a much lower value that were sold and then now are being assessed at a much higher market value. And so 50% of our overall growth is as a result of that turnover, that property turnover. The other one that I think is kind of, a lot of people will think, oh, we're a growing city, new construction. That does, in fact, add quite a bit to our assessed value. And so you go down a couple more to the new construction residential, and you'll see 14%. So those are just some of the driving factors that are contributing to Rancho Cordova doing extremely well in property tax. And then
Kim, just in terms of the whole Growing Strong Neighborhoods effort, you could come to the conclusion that this transfer of ownership would be properties in the older part of Rancho that were actually, some could even still be pre-Prop 13 assessments, and that maybe people are moving into original Rancho Cordova as much as they are moving out east of Sunrise.
Absolutely. And interestingly enough, you just gave me the perfect segue to the next slide. So thank you for that. And that's exactly what this graph depicts. As you'll see, so it talks about kind of the last time a home had an assessed value change by decade. And so kind of starting on the left-hand side, the large navy blue means that 35% of the city's single-family housing stock has sold since 2020. Wow. And then as you go down to the green section, an additional 32% of the city's housing stock has sold since 2010. And so kind of to kind of explain some of what's going on as we look through, I mean, a big percentage already has sold within the last basically 2 decades. And then as we see some of those homes that are probably assessed at a very low value, the numbers are starting to really diminish. And so I do think that these kind of dramatic increases that we're seeing this year probably will not continue at this rate. I think we had quite an extraordinary year, but just kind of give some context of what's happening here.
Yeah, mortgage rates are not so great now, so I would assume there's gonna be less property sales going on, although I don't have numbers on that. But the old rule of thumb was every property in California would change hands once every 10 years. So, 7?
7.
Wow, that's wild.
7 years.
So that's just, I thought this was some interesting, different data, trying to mix it up a little bit and keep this stuff interesting. Moving into sales tax, and so for years, sales tax was kind of leading the charge and was the revenue source that the city was seeing some pretty significant year-over-year increases. That has definitely slowed, and that is not just specific to Rancho Cordova. That is really a state of California and really a nationwide trend that we're seeing. So overall, the statewide outlook for sales tax, very flat, both this year and looking into next year. The performance for this year, what we're seeing in our end of year prediction puts us down 3.6 million from our high in 23-24. And this is the lowest our sales tax, this 1% Bradley Burns has been since pre-COVID. So, really seeing a level set here with sales tax this year, and even performing slightly below where we expected it to when we adopted the budget last spring. And there's a few reasons for that. One, we had a significant business called Teachers Curriculum that has relocated its operations to Mountain View. So that is a change that was not anticipated in the budget. We also have a couple other large businesses where, and this happens, they're remitting sales tax to the city, and suddenly that sales tax starts going to the county instead. And so we have to have an audit done and get that fixed. Sales tax is a very messy industry. And so those are sort of being investigated. Eventually they get corrected, but sometimes it takes 2 or 3 years to get corrected. So they won't be corrected likely this year.
And then the county doesn't give the money back.
They eventually gets all sorted out. But
How do we handle that? I mean, because most people probably don't realize, but you can have a business with a number of employees in Rancho Cordova reporting sales tax on sales here. Could be hundreds of thousands of dollars of sales tax to us, and then for no apparent reason, no change in like internal strategy or employees or anything, they decide to book it somewhere else versus here.
Yep.
And so the sales tax follows wherever they file the papers
point of sale.
or whatever they put on the form. Seems very arbitrary.
Well, we do have a consultant firm that we work with that
Chase down when that happens.
This is what they do for a living, and we have quarterly meetings, and we'll review those sales tax numbers. They dive into it, and when they see a delta, they start to investigate. Okay, does this make sense? Was this supposed to happen, or is this an error? And that sometimes that research, that, like I said, can take years to kind of get settled out.
And sometimes it's an error not in our favor, from a sense of sometimes these are just legitimately not being reported correctly, and we bear the benefit of that, and we have to be the ones that pay the other direction of those errors. So
We don't like it when that happens, though.
we don't, and it's painful. But I think partly that's because of our business mix here is a little bit different, but because of our strong business base and business-to-business transaction, that actually is a little more complicated than, I know I really bought something here in Rancho Cordova. It's the business-to-business where you see some of this interplay a little bit more. And so we sometimes have a harder time kind of being consistent because of our business mix that we have.
And then the last item that I'm just going to mention, there has been a change in how sales tax for used vehicle sales is being remitted. And so kind of historically, those would just get remitted by each individual used auto dealership to CDTFA, and then they would distribute us that sales tax accordingly. And several years ago, there was actually an assembly bill that changed that, where now that sales tax from used car sales is going to the DMV. Then the DMV sends it to CDTFA, who then gives it to the cities. This just would,
And everybody takes a cut.
well, and so what ended up happening, rather than how we've historically gotten sales tax remitted by each dealership, and we would know how that dealership was kind of performing, we just are now getting a lump sum payment for used vehicle sales. And the amount that we received last quarter was significantly below what we would have expected to see. Again, kind of working through some of those differences, but that is probably not something that we're going to see get fixed this fiscal year. But at some point, it will get corrected. Another one that we talked extensively about during the budget was building permits, and we knew that, overall we were seeing signs of slowdown, and that has in fact been the case. So for the first 6 months of this fiscal year, we issued 237 production home permits, which was basically 50% of what we had done a year prior. So overall, performing basically in line with what we had expected. This is the slowdown that we had accounted for when we put the budget together. And so we still anticipate we're going to be within the budget on that. And then on the commercial side, actually, we saw revenues in the first half of the year actually already exceed the budget, which is great news. And so that's helping us in some of those areas where we might not be doing as well. And that was attributable to some of our large valuation projects, such as the Trader Joe's cold storage and Amazon, which have contributed to that. So as a whole, permits are expected to meet or maybe even slightly exceed budget, but just kind of noteworthy that that slowdown that we anticipated is in fact being seen. And then a few other revenues to mention: transient occupancy tax, which is our hotel tax. That has, we've seen some fluctuations in that in recent years, and we're starting to see some sort of some slight trend upward, some positive momentum there. So overall, we do expect that that will end the year above budget. Interest rate cuts kind of started to happen a little bit more quickly than maybe we'd initially anticipated in the budget. So interest earnings may miss the mark slightly. But as a whole, a lot of this was anticipated. We did expect to see the slowdown, and overall the budget is performing as we expected, and we do expect to end the year still balanced. General fund expenditures overall are at 38% as of the mid-year point. And while it may seem like it should be closer to 50, oftentimes because a lot of our services are contractual, it might be just because we haven't received all those invoices and paid them. So we have kind of done some analysis, and overall, expenditures are basically trending within budget. A couple things that are just kind of different here. So staff salaries and benefits, where we have seen in recent years those salaries and benefits coming in quite a bit under budget. That was largely attributable to a lot of salaries and benefits being charged to reimbursable development activity. So as we see that development activity slow down and we see probably more staff time being charged to projects that are not reimbursable, we're starting to see those numbers kind of tick up, which again was expected. So overall, we expect the budget to end the year within, or the numbers to end within budget at the end of the year. And finally, our Community Enhancement and Investment Fund. The local add-on sales tax, as I've mentioned before, the methodology for how those sales tax revenues are collected differs from the 1% Bradley Burns that I talked about a couple slides ago. So because that is different, this is actually performing better. And overall, we had budgeted revenues at $11.9 million, and we actually expect them to exceed the budget closer to $12.4 million. So hopefully that continues. And so if those do continue and we come in over budget at the end of the year, we'll return and kind of talk with council about the best way to utilize those dollars, but we want to make sure that those actually come to fruition before we make plans for them. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great.
Nothing.
Guys, you got anything? Oh, wait, any public comment?
We do. Helen Whalen Bashaw.
Come on, Helen. She's from Terra Grande, if you didn't know that.
I've got a question regarding The methodology used for the car sales, you mentioned dealers. What percentage were you getting prior to it going to DMV with the private car sales between citizen to citizen?
So the used car sales, the 1% would be based on where the car was registered. So if a car was purchased here in Rancho Cordova at a used car dealership, there's a difference between the
No,
what.
what I want to know is owner to owner, no middle person as a dealership.
That I don't know offhand.
Because that was something you might want to look at. Because a lot of sales don't even go through dealers now. Haven't been for a while. My 22 registrations didn't go through anybody but me and the person buying them.
Thank you, Ellen. All right. Thank you very much. Good job on projections. The federal government will be calling you shortly. All right. Any future agenda items? Puppy? Nothing. All right. Meeting adjourned.